Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule of the Galaxy fans. It is Joe in the pilot seat for chapter 189 of the Rule of the Galaxy podcast. We are 11 episodes away from 200. I don't know what we're going to do for that, but we'll figure something out. But in the meantime, as usual, follow us at Rule of the Galaxy SW on Twitter and Instagram. Just Rule the Galaxy on Facebook and YouTube. Rule the Galaxy podcast on TikTok and Rule the Galaxy SW at gmail.com if you want to send us any emails. Last but not least, if you want any Rule the Galaxy gear, and if you're watching on YouTube, like the sign behind me with hats and shirts, go to Etsy.com, type in Rule the Galaxy. It's all one word, no spaces. Laura Burton will take care of you there and sell you whatever she can with the Rule of the Galaxy logo on it. But it's chapter 189. We did a quick episode earlier this week on the Mandalorian trailer, which I definitely want to get our co-host's ideas on that as well while he's here. But we're going to talk Bad Batch tonight, maybe some other fun stuff. But let's kick it off to one of our regular co-hosts who's just been busy as all get out with two little kids that he's got to chase everywhere, Mr. Nick Shesky. How you doing, Nick?
Man, I don't know if you can say regular co-host anymore. I've been so infrequent that I will abdicate my regular co-host status to just maybe like frequent guest,
I
But
understand.
but man, I'm doing good. I'm so glad to be back on and talk Star Wars. It's so weird where between health stuff with the kids, work stuff, extended family stuff, it's just been a kind of a nutty period of time. I'm preaching to the choir, but just nutty time, and I'm glad to be back on. The thing that has not waned though in this season has been my love of Star Wars. I'll tell you, I don't know how I got here. So don't ask me, what the process has been to get to this point. But my recent guilty pleasure, and I wish Tony Molinaro was on here because I actually got to see Tony over the winter break. He
Yeah.
stopped in Nashville, and my kids got to play with his kids, which was super fun. But my guilty pleasure has been getting into the new Jedi Order books from
Mm-hmm.
the Legends series. I'm
Yeah.
on book 5 or 6 of I think 30. Like there's tons of them.
Yep.
Uh, all about the Yuzong Vong. And I can't help but think of Tony every time I hear him say it in the thing. But my passion for Star Wars has been driving, even in the Disney area with some of the legend stuff as well too. And at some point, I would love to do another show just comparing, like, we've talked about Disney and everything Disney's done. I'm listening to things and I'm like, oh, they're on Ord Mantell right now with Han Solo in the new Jedi Order books. I wonder if they got some Mantell mix. Interesting, So I'm loving Star Wars life right now and glad to be on to talk a little bit more about it tonight.
No, I tell you what, those were that new Jedi Order series. I remember when that came out and starting off with Vector Prime, I believe.
Oh,
Um,
it's
yeah,
good. It's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Maybe I've got a bad opinion, but right now I feel like it's good and I'm liking
Oh,
it. And it's strange. And yes, I have to kind of shut my brain off, but I love it.
there's between that series and then Legacy of the Force series, I believe, and then the one where Jason turns bad at the end, or turns bad and Jaina has to battle him, and I can't remember that series, so
You know what you're
forgive
talking
me.
about? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Of course, I can't remember it right now, but it's like they do the Jedi Outcast. That's the
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the book title in my brain.
They had great covers on that series. They had great
Great
book covers on
covers.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
really, really good.
yeah, I get where you're coming from, and we're all at different phases of our lives, and things are changing for all of us. I mean, I'm in my 50s and I'm a grandfather. I've got a third dog now. We're like dog, we all of a sudden become like a kennel here at my
Let's
house.
go.
And you and Joey and DDoc, you guys are all at the other end of the spectrum where it's little kids pooping their pants and needing mommy all the time,
Listen,
and
Joe,
yeah.
I wish it was just pooping their pants. It is pooping up their back, pooping down their leg, pooping out places you never thought it could go. It's a hodgepodge, man.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. So I tell you what, before D-Doc's gonna do his typical show up 15 minutes late, and that's fine. But Alfie, with us doing the extra show this week. Joey was on earlier this week, and Alfie got complex tonight, and then Brent Dykman, who was supposed to be on tonight, not feeling well. Brent, get better soon. So it was me and you, and now DDoc, but we discussed Mandalorian, the trailer that came out, and we did a whole show just about that on earlier this week. So get some quick feedback from you. What did you think about that trailer? Are you excited about Mandalorian season 3?
And you know what? I think a lot of things about it. My first thought is I so love, the internet gets a bad rap in a lot of different ways. I so love living in the day and age where I don't have to watch a Monday night football game to like actually watch the trailer. Like it's on
Yeah,
and available 30 seconds after it airs on TV.
yeah.
And so I didn't watch the game that was on the other night, but it popped right up, right. My phone started blowing up, and partially it started blowing up from the Really Galaxy text where I kid you not, I had 55 missed texts that popped up, and I was like, something's happening. Either somebody died that was part of Star Wars, or Ryan Johnson's coming out with his new trilogy, or
Oh,
something happened. And I popped up and I looked at it, and I got to tell you, it looks like more of everything that I've loved already of Mandalorian. I'm not as intricate as Alfie in the details of, I got to go back and listen to the show where you talked. I haven't had a chance to listen to Monday Night Show yet, but to listen to the details of, all the spoilers and everything that he found out, and all the dark web stuff that he's into for it. I like being surprised by it, but from everything that I saw, I'll give you one. The piece that stuck out to me the most that I'm most excited about is the continuity between all of these different shows,
yes.
seeing the ruined uh or the ruins of Mandalore, and the fact that he's going to go back there and go see that. To me, I just think that that is so cool. I'm in for that. I'm all about it. There's little things, again, little stuff from series that they've built into that I like. But I'm just excited to see more of, his journey.
Well, Joey brought up the whole continuity thing during the show, and he was right. I mean, seeing that Favreau and Filoni have kind of made this intricate web between what they're going to be doing with Book of Boba Fett, this series, the Ahsoka series, the Skeleton Crew, and how they're going to intertwine it
Rebels,
all together. Exactly.
I mean, it's just, I can't imagine what the whiteboard looks like of how they
Oh,
keep all this stuff straight of this happens then and this, you know, I did the short dive into fan fiction um during COVID, and I felt like Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny looking at the board of like, the conspiracy theories because I couldn't keep it all straight. I can't imagine what their board looks like.
no, but I tell you what, I would pay money to go look at that board because
Oh,
I
I'll
we
take
have
that board home with me.
yeah, we have whiteboards all over at work, and there's always something on there, and you're like, oh, that over there, and those numbers over there. So to see that with this storyline to that storyline to this character weaves there, I would pay money just to see that. I think it's going to be great. And Joey brought up a good point for him. It's he's being a first time dad and having a 5 month old, and here he is, he's going to watch Mando holding on to Grogu, kind of like a dad son kind of a thing. He said it's going to be awesome to be sitting there watching it with my son, and kind of being like, wow, Mando and Grogu right here. So
Well, and
that's pretty cool.
I can empathize with him,
Yeah.
Joseph, because it's been so long since I've been on. For Christmas, I forced my wife to buy the little Galaxy of Heroes,
Hmm.
little, small 3-inch,
The little
toy.
chubby guys. Yeah.
Yeah, little chubby guys. And it's got a Darth Vader one, which now my son Graham he can distinguish. He goes, Darth Vader. Like he can distinguish who he is. And he doesn't know the difference between Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker, but he can just say Skywalker. And for me, it's so fun watching it through like his little eyes. And
Yeah.
so I get Joey. It's like all I'm doing right now is watching Star Wars going, man, I can't wait to rewatch this
Hmm.
in continuity with him. And my wife is like, he's never going to watch that with you. I'm like, oh, he's going to watch every second of it with me.
You know
All
what
the
I'm looking forward to for you and Joey is I've got just stuff stored away, right? And
oh,
Joey's got a collection of stuff. You've got all your stuff that you grew up with. So when you sit down and watch that show, and then he looks, and then you go and set the ship down or the guy down right next to him, he's gonna look at you like amazement, like, where did this come from? How do you have this? And it's just gonna reel him right in. DDoc was talking about it. I mean, his son now is like, oh, I want to see this and I want to watch that, and oh my gosh, we've got these toys, and yeah, it's awesome.
Well, and I've been blessed enough to keep the lightsabers that I had when I was growing up. And so, excuse me, I have one of the ones that I have the Luke Skywalker Force FX one from Return of the Jedi, which is just sweet to this day. I
Hmm.
still think it's one of the best Star Wars thing I ever got. And we have a friend of the family that she actually brought over the Mandalorian dark saber, like the toy one. I think it was rated like the most dangerous kids toy,
Really?
of the year that it came out, because it's a hard piece of plastic. Like, you get smacked in the face. I've been hit with it by my kid. It's tough, but my kid will walk around. I'll go to the basement, play lightsabers. Go to the basement, play lightsabers. I'm like, dude, nothing would make me more happy than to go to the basement and play lightsabers with you. Yes, let's go. You don't even know what I'm talking about, but let's go do it. Come on.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's all the process. I still remember doing the same thing with Joey when I first started letting him watch Star Wars back in the day when there wasn't that much to watch, right? When there were three movies and that was pretty much it. To be able to have that and then take the figures out and go, oh, by the way, that guy you just watched, here's his character, and so it's a
That's so
fun
cool.
passing of the
Now,
torch,
here's
man.
here's what I'm worried about though, because I didn't like, again, he's my first kid. I'll pay more for counseling for him than any of my other kids. But we did I've been replaying Jedi Fallen Order in
Hmm.
the few minutes of spare time that I have. So like on a weekend when he's napping, I'll pull it up and I'll play it. And on the weekends that he doesn't nap, I've found that like a great distraction is I'll bring him downstairs with me. I'll give him the second Xbox controller and I take a battery out of it and I'll play it while he can sit there. That game though is kind of scary. Like, there's things in it that, like, to me it doesn't scare me, but for a 2-year-old, you're like, dude, the whole Dathomir part, we should just like not be. This should not be something that you put in your brain. The big trolls from it, like, and so I'm in this weird moment now where like he came upstairs the other day and he was like, play Star Wars with Dad, and I was like, yeah, you want to go play it? And he goes, scary monsters, and I was like, oh, yeah, well, Dad kills the monsters, so it's okay. Like, it's all right. And he's like, Dad kills the monsters. And my wife was like, what are you doing with him down there? Like,
Oh
what?
gosh.
Stop. He's going to have night terrors. Stop this.
The old man in me will come out. The get off my lawn, Joe will come out, and
Bring
I,
it,
and I
because I need more of it.
and I will just tell you. Besides Joey, I mean, let's face it, Joey's not a normal kid. I can't say kid anymore. He turns 30 this year, but he's a little different. That I'll put on me. But at 2 and 3, I was full in on the original trilogy with him, and I was like,
Fun.
buddy, you're gonna see the Rancor pit. You're gonna see
Yes.
Luke get his hand cut off, and you know what? So far, he's turned out okay. I mean, he's
He's a
different, but
contributing member to society,
that's
Joseph.
true.
That's all I'm looking for. He turned out fine. He's
That's right.
okay. He's married. He's got a family. He's not a
That's right.
serial killer, to our knowledge. So we're good.
Okay. Well, see, that makes me feel better. Makes
How
me feel
about that?
better. So while we're waiting for DDoc and his big announcement, his big showing up on the show here, um, we talked about that, the Mando trailer. Um, some people were saying Sabine was one of the people in the Mando trailer. I saw a female Mando shoot somebody, and I think I brought it up like, "Hey, who is that?" And at first, I thought it was Fennec Shand because it was such a quick glimpse. But then we paused on it. It is a Mandalorian. Her helmet has a similar color to Sabine.
Right.
I'm not going to go there. I don't know. I know we just talked about all that intricate web, but if it's not going to bother me. But there were some people online definitely saying that. I don't know if it is a big key that she'd be in it or not, but it is what it is. So,
You've got to
uh,
think with the web that they're weaving, that at some point, like whether it could be Sabine. I mean, and honestly, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch for me to think with Ahsoka coming out
yeah,
that they're going to bring Sabine and Ahsoka and Ezra and Thrawn and all these people back. For me, though, I've said it on here before about like the speculation game. Like
Yeah.
until I see it, part of me is like, man, I don't know. Now, I will say this. I think we're playing checkers while they're playing chess to a degree. So, like the Grogu reveal, Alfie Molinaro knew that a baby Yoda was going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
The normal Star Wars viewer, including myself, was like, "What? A baby Yoda? That's so, like I had no clue."
Right.
So I think that they're too cautious about this to just casually drop something without it actually being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, like you said, the speculation, I only brought it up because I was like, wow, a lot of people are mentioning this. I just thought maybe it was
Yeah.
a female Mando after I thought of initially it was a Fennec Shan, but hey, it is what it is.
Which
If it's her, great, just ties in more things.
for Brent Dykman's sake, I hope that it's a new character and that
There
it's
we
somebody
go.
brand new that we've never experienced that has some sort of broken Mandalorian story that we're going to grow to love. I hope that that's the case.
Me
Would I
too.
be shocked if it's Sabine? No. So,
So I'll get these out and just get these questions going until we get going on Bad Batch season 2, episode 4 faster. Oh, DDoc's showing up, so he'll be able to hop into these questions. So do you think, and we'll ask DDoc when he hops on here, do you think with all the content that's out there right now, do you think as a Star Wars fan, it is necessary to either A, read all the content that's out there with books and comics to be able to keep track and for everything to make sense, or B, watch all the content on Disney Plus as far as animated series, shorts, at live action, all that stuff. Do you think Star Wars fans need to have it all, or do you think they can get by and not see it all and it still makes sense to them?
hmm. Well, before I answer this question, Joseph, you don't get enough credit because these are really good questions that you bring to every single show. And I want every person listening to know this is harder than it looks coming up with these questions. So great question. Um, I would argue this. It depends on who you are. So like my dad is a Star Wars fan. He loves Star Wars. He'll watch the stuff that I tell him to watch. Never will he ever pick up a book or a comic book
Mm-hmm.
to, read about what happens between episode 3 and 4. Like that just won't be a thing for him. And to him, ignorance is bliss. And he lives in, here's the Star Wars that I see. He probably will never watch Bad Batch or Clone Wars or anything like that because it's a cartoon. And for him where he's at, that's a hard medium for him to get into.
Sure.
And he still loves it. You know, for me, it just increases the bandwidth of the beauty of everything that we're seeing. So I would argue that it's probably based on preference of who's watching this stuff and the beauty of to go like there are probably other people out there that they read all the comic books and they hate the Bad Batch or they hate something about what's coming out. Like what I love is that we're still getting enough of a plethora of different things that it kind of hits the taste of different people. So I don't know. That's one take.
Well, I like it. DDoc, welcome to the show, by the way, DDoc. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty late tonight, but I wanted to join. Is my audio sounding good?
Your
We're
audio
sounding
sounds
good here?
great, and you never have to apologize. I mean, we're roping you into this thing. I mean, we've kind of entrapped you into this now. So everything's good. Kids going well. Everything like
Yeah,
that.
been a
Good.
bit of a busy week. Felt a little bit brain dead today, but you know what? I'm like, I was like, I need to get this Bad Batch episode in because I know that the second I jump on the podcast, I'll get that energy, and I'm just happy to be joining you guys here. Happy to have Nick back on.
No, that's
Doc,
great.
glad to be back on. And you were like the Steve McQueen of podcasts. You show up at just the right time.
Steve
Exactly.
McQueen of podcasts. I love it.
I'll
How
take
about
it.
So DDoc, my question to Nick, and I'll let you get your thought on it here real quick. Do Star Wars fans need to either A, read all the books, comic books, and other written material out there, or B, watch every animated show, live action show, and short out there to really keep up? Or is there enough out there that keeps that they can keep current with everything if they just watch the major things that come out.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That is interesting because you know what? I'm gonna have to do a research study because I have one buddy who only watches the live action, and I'll kind of do a test to see how much he understands what's going on. Like, I'll ask him about Ahsoka and stuff, and like see if he even remembers her. Because honestly, I feel like she was like a flash in the pan for some people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
to him, I think all he'll probably know her as is the girl with like the blue tentacles. That's probably what he would call her, honestly. So yeah, I don't know. It's getting pretty deep with all this
It
animated
is.
stuff. It's getting pretty complicated, I'll say. Um,
But it's like an opt-in thing. So like
Yeah.
it's kind of like choose your own adventure. Like how deep do you want to get into what now? I will argue this. If they don't go back to making movies,
Mm.
it's going to get deep. So like it's the same thing I would argue with the MCU right now. There's so much other crap that's going on. Crap might be too strong, but there's so much other stuff that's coming out that I'm worried because I've not watched all the other stuff that I'm going to get into a movie that they release and I'm going to be like, wait, what the Ant-Man has a relationship with so and so because I didn't watch
Right.
something before. So if they can get back to making movies and putting them in theaters, maybe it would be concerning. But other than that, I don't know.
Well, from a guy who started a podcast with his son 3 years ago and is now on his 189th episode, I will tell you that the High Republic, that's lost all momentum with me. The comic books, honestly, I love the the Dark Horse and the old Marvel, but the newer stuff, I haven't kept up on it. The overall novels, unless it's about a character or a time frame that I'm really interested in, I don't jump in on all those. It's just very time consuming, and you have to be on the ones that make sense for you. It's like collecting figures, you have to buy the ones that you really like and you're focused on. But here we are doing this, and I don't feel like I'm any less of a fan because I don't read those things or take in all those items. And I feel knowledgeable enough to still host the show and have you guys on and have a roundtable about things. So I probably will focus on the live action and the animated. I've just always loved the animated stuff since I got hooked on it. So I will focus on that and the movies if they ever come back out. But occasionally I'll read a book or something like that. But yeah, I'm a believer that it fits the person, the fan themselves.
Yeah, one thing I'll say when I joined this podcast is I listened to you guys before it, and I know that your Star Wars knowledge was more than mine when I got on here, without a doubt, because I never read any of the books. The animated shows were not a thing I watched. I got into them because of this podcast. And it's like, I was nervous about that when I joined it because I was like, I don't want to sound stupid. And then as I've been on it, I'm just like, it's okay if you don't know certain things in Star Wars. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's like, I forget the names of planets all the time. I forget where certain things have happened in the timeline all the time. But it's like, you're just a fan of it. So as Nick said, you can choose your entry points and just be a part of it. And it's okay,
Go ahead, Nick.
Now, 20 seconds, and I promise this will take more than 20 seconds. I promised that I wouldn't derail our show on this tonight, but DDoc, I was telling Joe when we first started that my Star Wars obsession has continued even during my absence from Rule of the Galaxy, and I'm listening to all the new Jedi Order books. So Legends, all about the Yuzong Vong, which arguably was the High Republic before the High Republic was a thing. Space pirates,
Mm-hmm.
interstellar aliens that come that are kind of like pirates that take over systems and do that. I would argue, and maybe we do a show about this at some point, that Disney has gone soft with their bad guys. And what I mean is when you read this new Jedi Order series, the Yuzong Vong is freaking bloodthirsty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just killing everybody, destroying planets. You're finishing books going like, what the? Chewbacca just died. Horrible, grotesque, kind of stuff. And then you've got the space pirate in High Republic that just feels sad and feels like
He's melancholy.
it's like and I know Jessica's gonna kill me for saying it because she loves the High Republic, and I'm crapping on her thing. But I really, when I look at the two, I for a while I tried to get into High Republic, and I was like, man, why do I not love this? I'm like, oh, because I'm not compelled to love this. Like I don't feel like even Yuzong Vong gets a bad rap and slurs from Tony, but if you listen to it, like you go, wow, these are compelling, dangerous, evil bad guys, minus a space pirate who's just whatever. And you can argue you've not read enough books. I read like 8 of those books, and I'm still out.
Yeah.
I read over. Continue with
DDoc, I can tell you, if you just follow along to like what me, Alfie, Nick, and a few others tell you to read, it's like watching Clone Wars. Clone Wars is 7 seasons long, whatever, 20 plus episodes per season. You can cut it in half and get completely enthralled and love it. Or if you want to watch the other half, you can go, what did I just watch for that 3 arc series right there?
Kind of like Bad Batch season 2.
Yes, which we're going to hit.
Skip whole episodes and not miss one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
More to come.
I want to expand on one thing that Nick was saying too about the Disney bad guys too. Like I had mentioned the other day, I was watching a documentary on the rise of Skywalker, and I find it interesting. Like Adam Driver's in a lot of movies and stuff, and he was the big bad of that trilogy. And it's like, when you see James Earl Jones, you think that's Darth Vader. Like, and I'm a big Adam Driver fan too. It's just that I think the fact that they didn't technically really make him a villain in it, because he kind of was like, you knew that he was trying to be a villain, but he deep down couldn't be. And then Palps was kind of there. So it's like they couldn't just choose a guy and say, this guy is flat out evil, which I do think Moff Gideon is. And I do think we're going to get one more villain in The Mandalorian. That's what I think. So I think Filoni will hit on the big bad in it, because in that trailer, the guy said like there's something bad going on out there. So like, I don't know if they tie it into the sequel trilogy, it's going to be pretty weird. I don't know.
Gotta bring another bad guy in, because Gideon's soft as baby poop. There's no way. That's where I stand. I stand on it. I feel like he was trying to be the guy from Breaking Bad, but he just couldn't quite pull it off.
I think he's got. Okay. I think there's more to him, honestly.
I hope so. I hope you're right, DDoc. I really do, because I was, after watching him get whooped by, what's the girl from 24?
Katie from 24. You mean from Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. The one that
Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah. I don't know why 24 is what I associate her.
Well, she was in a season of that, so that's with Freddie Prinze Jr., who played Kanan Jarrus. So there you go. You had Kanan Jarrus and Bo-Katan in a series. Yeah,
she whooped him. So
that's a good point that you brought up there, though, Nick. That is definitely something to think about. That they just need to go all in on a villain. Just say this guy is just a bad guy, and that's it. Like, I don't know. Like, it's
I don't.
Babies.
I don't watch horror movies really anymore, but I have a feeling that like even today's bad guys in horror movies are just misunderstood people. Like they're a serial killer, but they're
not
only
a misunderstood person.
I mean,
he's evil. Freddy is not misunderstood, Joseph.
All right. Well, I mean, maybe
that's the problem with filmmaking, though, where like now they want you to. There's no true good guys and bad guys, and for some reasons it's good because it raises the anti-hero. You want to cheer on, Deadpool, but at the same point, there's no good guys and bad guys anymore. And so you go, like, that's what made Star Wars so awesome, was there was a definitive, like, Palpatine's bad. We know he's bad.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And again, I'm eating my own words as I say it, because Darth Vader turns out to be, an okay dude at the end, although he's murdered hundreds of thousands of people.
Well,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
pulled it off with that though. Like
yeah,
that's the
they
thing.
did.
It worked with that. Like he
But
was
for 2 movies,
bad
he was
until
the
the
bad
end.
dude.
Yeah. But you know what? To plenty of people, Luke Skywalker is a bad guy for killing all those innocents that were just working on the Death Star.
Oh,
Wow.
and he's a bad dude for just disappearing and
Yes.
pumping a animal out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm. Yeah. No, we'll go with that. Green milk. Green milk. So hey, I don't want to keep it a long show tonight because, like I said, it was a bonus show earlier this week. So we've hit on a few things here and actually some very good topics that were kind of fun. And I had a few notes, but you know what? It was good to bounce those all around, and I appreciate you guys doing that. Let's hop in here on season 2, episode 4 of the Bad Batch, Faster. I would say, and I wasn't on the most recent show that you guys did, DDoc. That was one of the episode 3 was one of my favorite Bad Batch episodes ever.
Yes. It
Um,
was great. It was really
yeah,
good.
see, that was just great anime. I mean, you sitting there going, "No way, this is an animated show. This is
Yep.
too good." And then they went back and said, "We're going to give you a week to just kind of take it in and be like a Saturday morning cartoon." It felt like pod racing mixed with Mario Kart. It it was the adventure of the week kind of thing. I hate to say that, but I mean, I really have enjoyed Bad Batch. I just did a rewatch of the first season, and yeah, there were some fluff episodes in that as well, but that show did, by the end, become a very good show, and there were some really good points in there and some good characters built up. So to come off that high of episode 3, I was like, man, I'm really jazzed. Let's see. And then I went, oh, okay. Um, you guys have the same thoughts, I'm guessing? DDoc, you just watch it. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, so here's my thought. I asked that same question because I agree with you, Joseph. I think that episode 3 of Bad Batch was one of the best things we've gotten since Clone Wars season 7. Better, I mean, the Commander Cody buy-in, the emotional pull that they have throughout it was so good. The question I've been asking was like, okay, could they have put anything after that that would have chilled it out, or like anything after that that would have been like, man, that was good, or was everything just kind of destined to be that they leaned into it? The second that they were like, where's Hunter and Echo, I was like, frick, we're headed towards filler. We're headed towards a poor man's pod race.
We're going to Mantel Mix. Yes.
We're going to Mantel Mix. That we're going to droids episodes of Rebels and Clone Wars where it doesn't actually add to the story at all. But I do think like that's the hard part of it. Was such a good episode of season 3 or episode 3 that anything after that I would imagine would be hard following that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like these episodes, sometimes I miss stuff because it, as you said, Joe, it almost does feel like the Saturday morning cartoon. Like it's fun and stuff like that. It's like, like I started off watching this show with my little guy, and I didn't show him episode 3. Actually, I just kind of pretended that didn't happen because I honestly, it might be a little intense. I don't know. It's like,
You're such a better dad than I am, DDoc. Go back and listen to the first 20 minutes of this, and you're gonna be like, dang.
I'll probably show it to him. We just watched Revenge of the Sith. My kids were. My daughter couldn't sleep for 2 days because she saw the final battle. So my wife comes down and she goes, I won't get too sidetracked here too, but she goes, you need to go upstairs and talk to Harper. And I'm like, why? And she goes, she can't sleep because of Star Wars. And I'm just like, damn it.
Scary monsters, Dad.
Yeah, I found a picture of Hayden and Ewan hugging each other in real life. I'm like, they're friends. Like he didn't really burn. Like I'm sorry.
Love it.
You're
love
rationalizing
it.
with Google Docs or Google.
She got home while we were watching it, and she kind of stood in the corner there, and I'm like she'll probably go away if she's afraid, but she didn't, and I was like, all right, like
she just locked in and watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll let you guys know down the line if we did any permanent damage. I don't think we did. I think we're all right. She got over it. It was only
Oh.
2 nights, and she got over it. So I think we're
Uh,
good. And she said she likes Star Wars, so we're
I
all right.
think the title of this episode is going to be Daddy Issues. It's because
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
we just have issues with this, and I mean, fortunately, Joey was 12, 10. What? How old was he? 19, 20. He was 12 when Revenge of the Sith came out, so a little different feel.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I've told the story on the show before. I saw it and I went into a depression
Well, yeah, because it was
because
over.
I was one, like, what the hell did I just watch? And two, Star Wars is done.
Yeah.
Yeah. 12 is definitely the appropriate age to see a dismembered burning body. That's when you're ready for it.
Okay.
You're ready.
Yeah.
Get in here. Suck it up.
You know
like
what?
it, you can leave.
Honestly, though, like seriously, I gotta say this, and I'll close it. I'll
Oh,
close it because
gosh.
I sidetracked it with this.
No, it's
It
good.
shows how good of a job Hayden Christensen did in those scenes, because when I showed her the picture of him and Ewan, I felt like when she saw Anakin's face, Hayden Christensen's face, I think she was afraid of him actually. So I'm like, he's a nice guy. Look, he's laughing. He's a normal guy. Look at the blue screen. They're making movies and videos just like I do. Like, cause she knows I make like my plumbing videos. So it's like, it's hard to tell a kid that, we all learn our lessons in parenting. That was a good lesson for me. So a lot of explaining.
we all do, I mean, there's so many things that you guys get to look forward to over the next decade plus. I can't wait to hear, I've got stories about my kids, and I'll just wait to compare them to your kids. Fortunately, my kids didn't have the same, there wasn't streaming, there wasn't the internet
It's
really that
crazy.
much, there wasn't cell phones as much, but I'm really interested to see where this goes. And you know what? If it means that we have to chip in and pay for some of the therapy stuff, just let us know. But we'll get a GoFundMe page going.
Yeah, exactly.
Go fund me for my kids' therapy.
Showed Revenge of the Sith too early.
So one of the things that did stand out to me in this episode that actually was a storyline was Omega's too trusting, and she's too forgiving. She's too willing to look for the best in everybody. She wanted to look for the best in Sid. I mean, we find out that Sid, we already knew she was a criminal somewhat. We already knew she probably already had a checkered past, but in this we find out she really did, right? We met her former either foe or whatever. I forget his name now that I'm thinking about it.
Big story.
But he was a big alien from The Force Awakens. That was, I mean, he wasn't the same guy, but his same species as that guy sitting in Maz Kanata's bar, right? With the horns on his chin. But Omega's too trusting. She wanted, when Sid got in trouble and was leading them down the path of they're getting themselves in trouble, Omega was all in. She wanted to save Sid no matter what, and be there for her, while Tech and Wrecker were like, we're out if we can, right? We don't need to be in this mix right here. So do you think that will come back and play at any time in the future? The trusting part of her, and her having too much emotions for people.
You can edit, Nick. You look like you got a point ready.
I could write the end of this season. And I hate that I could do this based off the dialogue that we got. The little part where she turns around, where the guy, Big Scary, who you're talking about, where he turns around, he's like, don't trust her. She'll stab you in the back. I'm going to tell you right now how this season's going to end. There's going to be a point where she's going to have an opportunity to stab them in the back, and Omega is going to appeal to her and lean in some capacity and say, we do trust you. It's okay. You're not what you were before. And then Sid is going to choose the high road and not do this. Like, I hate that it's that way, but I could almost paint that out to say, like, from the dialogue about, don't just wait. She'll turn around and she'll stab you in the back. I saw that and I was like, frick, there's the next 8 filler episodes that we're going to get of just the build up towards a moment where she's going to try to turn on them. And then she's going to have this attack of conscience, and it's not going to happen that way.
Okay.
I don't imagine this season ending with like an Empire end where you're like, wait, we just lost. What just happened?
Okay.
No,
DDoc?
I could definitely see that happening, and yeah, that storyline definitely is panning out. I mean, I guess you could technically say it was like almost an Omega like learning like trust wise learning episode. Did you notice the voice of that guy too? By the way, it was
Yes,
it's
I saw the credits of that.
yeah,
From
Ernie
Parks and Rec.
Hudson, right? The guy from
yeah.
Ghostbusters, wasn't he the
Go-
Ghostbusters guy?
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
He's in Ghostbusters, and he was in I think he's in that show Grace and Frankie. That I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched that on
he
Netflix,
was
but
in
he's been in a
Oz.
ton of stuff.
He was in Oz. And as a matter of fact, what's funny is last night my wife and I were just kind of bouncing around TV shows, and I got back late from helping at my kids' high school they went to, and Miss Congeniality 1 and 2 were on with Sandra Bullock, which Sandra Bullock, I'll watch any movie she's in pretty much. But Ernie Hudson was her boss in the FBI. So I'm like, I just watched him in Star Wars, and now here he is in that.
Yeah,
Weird how that always happens.
yeah.
So
And they had the guy who does Sonic. He did the droid, so
I,
he's in a ton of
yes.
stuff too.
So before I get to him, because he was right here on my list, back when we met the Wanda Sykes character in episode 1 of the Bad Batch, my first thought was they're not going to keep Sid around for the entire season, and that storyline is going to get out. And this new Wanda Sykes character, which I forget her name, Fee Genoa or something like that.
Who cares?
What's that?
Who cares?
Well, yeah. Well, she. I felt like she was going to replace her. Like she's a pirate, I think. And
I thought that too. Actually,
I thought, at some point in time, they're going to have to go off and be pirates with her away from Sid because Sid's going to be axed out, right? So I don't know. I don't know if that'll lead to that. But that Teo character, as you mentioned, Ben Schwartz is the guy who I knew him from what, Parks and Rec, right? Didn't he play the
So
crazy?
fun.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's crazy in that show.
oh my god, what's
he
his
was
name in
safe.
Parks and Rec? Oh
John
my God.
Ralphio.
There
Yeah,
you go.
John Ralphio. Yeah,
So yeah, he played that. Now, look, I mean, we called this filler. We called this fun. A character like that is going to appeal probably with the action and the not pods but riot, cars they were in or what have you. That's going to appeal to kids. And if you want fans 20 years from now, you've got to throw in some of this stuff to make it to where they're going to like it. But he wasn't my favorite character, but I see where they were going with it. I mean, a little fun, a little crazy, a little loud.
yeah.
I get it. So
That's why I want to show my little guy this and see if he catches on that it's Sonic's voice. Because, like, I'm telling you, Sonic is bigger than when I was a kid now. Sonic the Hedgehog is like up here for kids.
because of
They
the movies,
love it. Oh, yeah. They love
wow.
it. Like,
I haven't seen either one of them.
oh, yeah. Like the kids at my son's school, it's like, everybody loves Sonic the Hedgehog right now. He's like the king. So,
Wow.
yeah, so those movies did some good numbers too, and I went and saw them. They're good movies. They're fun to watch. So you'll be watching them in the future. Don't worry, because as your timeline goes, Sonic 3 will be coming out when Frankie's like getting there. So you'll be in it. But yeah, it was fun to hear him voice the droid. I didn't think he felt very droid like, kind
No.
of. He felt like human, like as we said with the droid from Andor, how they're like teetering that line between human
Yes.
and
Yes.
droid. But it was just fun. And as you said, I know kids would enjoy this episode. So it's like you got to play that balance with
You
it, I
do.
guess. So
You do. I mean, whether it's Clone Wars, whether it's Rebels, whether it's Bad Batch, whether it's the other ones that I'm Resistance, you have to have that mix and make it to where it's like there's important storylines to people like us who are nerdy enough to pay attention to everything that's going on, and then little kids are going to watch and go, "Oh, it's great action, and that's great. That's a funny character," and because that's what's going to stick with them. I mean, Joey sent me a video just yesterday, and it was him sitting on his couch, and Frankie was sitting on his lap, and he had Bad Batch on in front of him, and he's like, here's Frankie was just staring at TV, all the colors and the lights, and
yep.
that's going to do it, right? And so I don't know. I mean, this droid got kind of destroyed. I don't know if he'll have a returning role or not. Maybe Tech will repair him and bring him back. I don't know, but that was an interesting storyline. I like that Tech, who's kind of the guy in the shadows of everything all the time. He's not Hunter. He's not Echo, who has a great past and storyline. He's not Wrecker, who's the action guy. He's Tech, and he's usually pressing a button and talking over an intercom, telling them what to do. So for him to have something where he actually was valuable to the story, and then showed up that he could be important enough to it, that was great. I mean, it was good to see that. I like that they joked around. They were like, Tech, that's his name. What else is it? Is there anything else with it? It's just Tech. Okay. So anyway, Nick, go ahead.
I did think that banter was really good, particularly to like when he wins the race and they're like celebrating. He's like, why do you seem surprised that I just won? Like, again, like Tech is, I feel like I think it was episode 2 where Tech and Omega have this like bonding moment. I feel like they're giving more to Tech in this season to like expand his character. However, I would say, did anybody else, the second that I'm being Alfie Molinaro on this episode, saying, did anybody else and when they showed the track that was like cut off or that was like sealed off, the second they showed it, you were like, he's going through there. He's gonna go down
100%.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, twice, I think.
It's going to be Tech. It's not going to be Wrecker. It's going to be Tech.
Yeah. But I think they did say it twice. Like, oh, don't go down the left tunnel. Don't go hey, that left tunnel, stay away from it, and I'm going,
yeah,
they're going to go down the left tunnel. It's coming up anytime now. So
we're going down there. It's going to happen.
But
it's sealed off, but the Bad Batch can overcome it.
If you're a 4 or 5-year-old kid, that's going to get you.
Oh, it's brand new news. You're like, no, they said don't do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to see your son, DDoc. I want to see little Doc watch when he goes down the left tunnel. He's going to look at you and go, Dad, they said don't go down the left tunnel.
I know. Yeah, he'll be all in on that. I'll probably watch it with him tomorrow, actually. But yeah, I loved Tech getting that praise, and hearing the crowd chant his name at the end was pretty cool. You could tell he kind of like, Tech is one of my random favorite characters. I just really like him for some reason. Like, his Black Series figure I have is one of my favorite figures of all of them that I have. I don't know why. I just really like him. So it was cool to see him.
It's his little visor that comes down and decodes what aliens are saying.
Yeah, it's cool.
So cool.
I didn't even think about that. Huh. Okay.
And he fixes stuff. He's always working on stuff. I like that. So he's like, I can relate to that.
As I say, he probably would be doing self-help videos if he could on YouTube and Instagram.
Exactly.
On the HoloNet. He'd be doing the HoloNet. So, besides those few questions that I had before and the little banter and everything like that, Bad Batch, let's just face it, this was not an episode where we were going, hey, we're going to spend, I mean, guys, we spent an hour on 1 minute and 40 seconds of the Mandalorian trailer. So this episode right here of Bad Batch, which was a half an hour long, we're going to spend 25 minutes talking about it. And so I think that kind of shows you the weight and everything like that of this episode. But we all know that as we get closer to A New Hope, and as we get closer to Andor and to Rebels with the Bad Batch seasons, stuff's going to go down. Things are going to happen. Characters are going to be intertwined that are in that sweet spot between episode 3 and episode 4. And we're at some point in time, we were talking about Mando. I don't think Mando needs to go more than 4 or 5 seasons. I think you hit it, you get all the stuff, the meat taken care of it, and then you let Mando go be character of the week in Ahsoka show or in Skeleton Crew or whatever they're going to have next. Because, I think you can get to, it's like Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso, while it's my favorite show on TV, I'm okay with this season, the 3rd season, possibly being the last one, if that's what they're going to do, because I know it's just going to be that good and that quality. And I kind of want that for Star Wars. So Bad Batch, I don't think it needs to be a 5 to 8 season, like Clone Wars or whatever. Give me 3, 4 solid seasons. Get us ready for, what's going to happen with the, New Hope and all that, and get out, right? Plus, let's face it, none of these characters are in the original trilogy. So we can't really keep this going for all of them and make that happen. I don't know. What are some of your guys' thoughts on that, the show length and everything where it's leading to? DDoc, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. 4 or 5 seasons for Mando seems dead on to me. I totally agree with that. You don't want to fall into the trap of going too long with something, because some shows have fallen into that trap, and it's like, something could be so great and then it starts to get a little watered down. And to me, Mando's really never been watered down for me yet. Like an episode of Bad Batch like this, I can watch it and be like, all right, it was one of those ones this week, and move on from it. But
Mhm.
like when it comes to the live action, your expectations are a little bit higher. It's like it's hard to sometimes take a live action episode where you're just like the only meaning of this episode was that last line of it, technically, like storyline wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on par with everything you said there. Get these shows done. Tell us these stories. You don't need to drag it out, because we got a lot going on. So that's a good thing that you don't need to drag them out. So
Go ahead, Nick. Okay. Nick,
yeah,
you're
Nick's
muted.
making moves.
Hey, sorry, I'm muted. Hey, my only hope is this. I do believe that with some of these shows that like less is more.
Mhm.
And I don't think that that's just particular to live action. So like if you think about Avatar: The Last Airbender, that show ended on the 3rd season and it was perfect. Like it was amazing. Like it and any like it left me wanting more, but it was just enough where it was like I got the ending that I wanted and I'm okay with that and I feel satisfied. But if they had done another season, I would have been okay with it. As opposed to like a Game of Thrones where you do 7 seasons and you get to season 7 and you're like, no, that was not what I wanted. Like that was not, you didn't know how to land the plane. Like I'd rather you know how to land the plane and end it well as opposed to like going for more.
Yeah. No, I
So
agree.
that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, how many seasons of The Walking Dead are there at this point? Like 14 seasons or something? I never watched that show. People have told me to, but like I know that people who are hardcore fans, and I watch them transition to like, yeah, Walking Dead is on, but it's like, I don't know where they're going at this point, like with it. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. You go too long, you can water something down,
It's Costanza and Seinfeld. When you've said your line, you've hit your high note, it's time to get out, right? I mean, thanks. That's it. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out.
Yeah,
See you later.
exactly.
And I think that's the way it needs to be. Kenobi, I guess if they do one more series, I could live with it, but I don't want them to really jack it up and mess things up completely. I got enough to where I could see Hayden and Ewan back together. We saw a little bit about young Leia. We saw a little bit about young Luke. And I'm like, okay, there wasn't enough in there of the other characters where I was like, man, I want to see more of them. I did want to see the Ewan and Hayden thing. We saw it. We saw a few new characters. I'm thinking, okay, that led me enough in the right direction. And you can say they left you in the right spot to where now Luke grows up there. He's got the ship from him, all that kind of stuff, and you're done. Now, if they do it and they do it right, great. But I'm not begging for it. Same thing with Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett, I'm okay with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand going off and being sidekicks or parts of the Avenger Star Wars series and mixing into these other series from now on. That series, it had some really cool points to it, but it wasn't enough to where I was like, man, they need a second, a third, and a fourth. I guess you could say, okay, Cobb Vanth, and all that kind of stuff. That was I like that character. Is Cad Bane dead? Is he alive? There's things in there, but it's not enough to where I think you're going, let's build a whole season off it. Now I could be way wrong, and if they do, great. But I hope they, as you said, land the plane the right way. So go
Well,
ahead,
I
Nick.
would say it's like the Harvey Dent. Like you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the bad guy. I think for all of these shows, you have a shelf life where if the story is good and believable, then you can buy in and you can do it. DDoc, you talked about The Walking Dead. I'll tell you, my wife and I, we started The Walking Dead together at the very beginning. And we loved it. And it was, we watched it individually and then we jumped in together and we were like, this is awesome. And then the story diverted so far that you were like, wait, hang on a sec. That doesn't even feel true to like what it was before. And then they started like killing off characters. It's like neither of you have probably watched
Grey's
this.
Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy.
Yep.
Where you're
Oh
like,
my
okay,
God, I've
somebody
watched
put
it.
this show out of its misery. Like we've been going for so long that the woman looks like she could just like fall over at any moment. Right.
Yes.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like you can go too long and build this out, or you can die the hero and go, man, that show was freaking awesome. Let's go and hope for a season 7 of Clone Wars where
Yes.
years down the road you come back and you're like, oh, that's what I wanted. That was great, you know?
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
have to say this. Grey's Anatomy is always my wife's maternity leave show. For all 3 of
Wow.
my kids, she
Oh
would
man.
start Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my gosh. Are we married to the same person? Dude? Holy
Yeah.
cow.
And it's like I can't help but to tune in every now and then. I wouldn't sit and watch it with her, but then I would just be like, the one episode where the guy's like changing the tire on the side of the road, the main character, and he's like, he like gets it. I'm like, why can't they just let some of these characters just go? They're like, they're gonna be done. Let's kill them. You know,
They're
like
writing them off.
they're nurses and doctors. This is like they don't need to die in a
It's the
plane
highest
crash.
mortality rate
Oh yeah.
outside of just being in the hospital.
Yeah, I was like, is the news reporting that every employee of this hospital eventually dies a horrible death? Like, geez.
Hit by a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to make that point.
I think I got a new title though. Star Wars. Don't let yourself become Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah,
because
there you go.
I mean that's my wife and I. Everybody told us you got to watch it. You got to watch it. We never watched it when it was on, so we started to binge it, and I didn't know that it was 18 seasons. So we're watching. I'm like, oh, it's a good first season. And we watched season 2, and I'm like, hey, how long does this go? And I went and I said, you've got to be kidding me. And I think we got into like the 4th season, and I said, I can't do this anymore.
So
Can't
you're
do it.
hitting on something that's like a social construct. How much can I watch before I hate myself? And really, I would say the threshold is like 7 seasons. If it's more than 7 seasons and it's not good, like Seinfeld is like 9 seasons, but it's good enough that I can buy myself into watching all 9 seasons of it. The Office, 9 seasons. We go off the rails a little bit. Another great example of went longer than we should have, and we go too far.
Imagine if The Office ended when Michael Scott left. Imagine that. It probably should have.
Now, hang on a second, because
they did find their way.
They did.
I will say this though. Some of my favorite, this is not an Office podcast. Some of my favorite episodes, because I love awkward humor, is the Will Ferrell, D'Angelo Vickers episodes. They make me, and it's like this weird. Now, after that, we actually just stopped watching it because it was like, yeah, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
See, James, like I'm the opposite with D'Angelo.
Yeah.
I know. It's something sick about me. I need to go to therapy, figure out what it is. But I love the like his fake juggling scene that he does is one of my all-time favorites of juggling, doing a juggling act to Everessence with no balls.
That's true.
That's a wonderful scene. Okay. So we ran through Bad Batch episode 4 season 2. We've shown that we all love The Office. Parks and have you guys watched Parks and Rec? Then we mentioned it? Yeah. Parks and Rec. I love Parks and Rec. Yeah, exactly. So we're tying in Star Wars, Parks and Rec. Any closing thoughts either one of you guys have that we've kind of, I love this episode because we bounced around on everything. So I think we've had conversations on 100 different topics in an hour. So go ahead, DDoc.
I'll just hit mine real quick. It's I can live with the filler episode. I do wish that every freaking episode was like the first 3 of this season. I think there's plenty more loaded up that we're going to see. But I can live with it. And also, I thought there was a Tron shout out as well, because when they were going through the tunnel, it was playing some of that kind of Tron style music when that's not familiar to Star Wars, where it was like kind of that synthesizer, like do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
like,
I like that. Okay.
They're because I've been like kind of learning about Tron lately because they're opening that new ride, and I'm like that's something I never got into. So I'm kind of trying to watch the old Tron movie and the newer one and stuff like that. So I thought there was a little Tron shout out in it. I'll end on that.
I love it. Okay, I didn't even think about that, but you're right. That music was there. Nick, how about you?
And my only closing thoughts would be this: is that despite the filler episode, the fact that we can get together and talk about Star Wars and dissect it. Again, it's probably because I've not been on in a while, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity to get to just sit and talk Star Wars. And the fact that new Star Wars is continuing to come. Every
Yeah.
time I listen to these new Jedi Order books, I just think of like the day and age where it was like, guess what? We'll never see that on the big screen again. And now every Wednesday there's new Star Wars content coming out. What a time to be alive. I'm just grateful for it. So
I agree.
I have one quick question too. You just made me think of it, Nick. I was on Audible last night looking for a new book, and I saw there's a Darth Maul book that Whitmer, whatever.
Which
He
one?
narrates it. It's a Darth Maul
Sabotage?
book.
No.
It might be. Either way, I just know that it's like Maul on the cover with his lightsaber, and he narrates the book. And I listened to the sample of it. I'm like, I got to ask the guys if that's worth a listen.
There was one that happened right before Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
where he was after the Nemoidians, right?
Yep.
And I can't remember
One where
what
he's in prison too.
I thought that was a comic series. Was
No,
that
there's an actual book where he is like
Okay.
it starts with him in prison and it's a test to like get out of it.
okay?
Yeah.
I would say this, DDoc, Sam, take the story out of it for a second. Sam Whitmer,
His voice.
I'm saying his name wrong,
Whitworth.
is such a good voice actor
Yeah.
that it's worth listening to. It's like if Mark Thompson does it, I'm probably going to listen to it just because he's such a good voice actor. Which, by the way, shout out to Mark Thompson. He did a ton of these new Jedi Order books.
Now you're making me want to go back and listen to
And
him
the
again.
fun part for me is I'm listening to it going, I freaking know that guy. Let's go. He's been on the podcast. He's a Rule of the Galaxy guy. Let's go.
That's awesome.
It was
A lot of you
Shadow
don't
Shadow
know,
Hunter.
Shadow Hunter.
That's
Shadow
it.
Hunter.
There we
That's
go.
the one where he's in prison.
Yeah, that's like I'm looking for a new audiobook, and I'm thinking about starting the prequels because I never listened to the prequel audiobooks, and I
Okay.
think that would just be something fun to expand on. And yeah, I saw that one in there, and I'm like, man, I feel like it would be cool to hear him narrate his own character that he did the voice for in the animated series. So I don't know, I might jump into that one. Sorry, I railed.
No,
I
no,
sort of
no.
off the rails at the end.
Look, I'm going to throw this out there to go along with that. If you want one that is the character doing the book, but it's not an in-universe book, check out I Am C-3PO by Anthony Daniels, because his biography, he does it on the audio version. It's so great because
Maybe I
he's
will
telling
do
you
that.
the real truth of what happened. He's been involved with every Star Wars thing from the beginning, and he has a story about every show, about every movie, about every little thing from 1975 all the way until now. It's absolutely crazy. But
I'm
it's
doing it.
again, it's not a story. It's his life, but it's fantastic.
But to be fair, I was telling somebody about this the other day. The ICCC that we were at,
Mm-hmm.
he was the best part of the whole thing for me because he literally did an hour of exactly what you're talking about, Joe, of like, here are the stories, here's the insider info, here's everything that I experienced and I saw, and he was hilarious.
Yeah.
While he did, I sat there and I was just like, this was worth coming to just for this. Crazy.
Oh man, well guys, you guys are the best. I love our little show. I love that we all get together, different people in different parts of life, and just hanging out and talking the wars. Sorry Alfie couldn't be here tonight. Brent, get better. Joey, thanks again for being on the special show we did earlier about the Mandalorian trailer. You know, we're gonna figure out our guest list over the next 11 episodes and prep for the show 200. We might do it live on YouTube. I don't know. I think that might be the best way to do it. So we'll get working on that and planning. But guys, thanks to you. Thanks for being a part of it. For our listeners, for our followers, for the people who interact with us on social media, thank you so much. It's just a blessing to really sit here and just have fun with people and just get away from reality and just talk Star Wars for a while and act like little kids again. And now that you guys are getting to experience that with your kids, I'm just really happy for all you guys because it's a really cool thing to go through. I wish my dad would have liked Star Wars. He hates it, but that's okay. We have our bonds. So guys, episode 189 in the books. Thank you so much. Until next time, may the force be with you.